Good morning and welcome everyone from all over the world. Thank you for being with us today with the Mido community in this very peculiar situation. During this press conference that offers the contents and the forms of the 2021 Mido edition, digital edition, to make you understand what is the current point of view on the state of the art and forecasts and outcasts. We will do so by offering you contents that are the result of the values that have emerged during this peculiar condition. We hope that what has happened in the past few months has not improved us, but make us more aware. So knowledge, discernment, will to understand and react in the best way in the next few months. If we were to choose keywords, I would say hope, because we have learned to hope that the pandemic will end and things will start in a positive way, but also new alliances. We understood that we cannot be saved by ourselves, and we must take into careful consideration the issue of health, of shared and common wealth and well-being, and tools and devices that we were not so familiar with before. Someone has talked about On Life, and this would be an On Life press conference where reality and digital world will meet, and we would try to activate an augmented, enhanced ethics in an augmented reality through technology, and trying to learn what are the values that need to be more developed, and also an augmented and enhanced aesthetics, because we will try to recover and find again what we miss the most, beauty and inventiveness. So I invite Giovanni Vitaloni, the president of ANFAO and Mido, that will give you an overview of the state of the art, a vision for the future. Thank you, Francesco. It's a pleasure for me to be with you. As Francesco has said, there's been a great effort by our organization to make this digital conference as real as possible, to be as close to you as possible, to tell you our projects, the state of the art of our industry, and also launch the 2022 event, where we will probably meet again in person. But digital reality are the keywords. We wish to be as close to you as possible, and this is a very interactive press conference. I immediately get to illustrate to you the state of the art of the industry, to give you some hints of the past year, a complex and difficult context with lots of negative figures, but with the hope and prospect to recover in the second semester 2021. There are some key points that I want to emphasize in order to describe 2020. On one side, the impact of the pandemic on the manufacturing activity and industries has had an immediate and violent result and consequence. The impact on the state of health on industrial sectors was very irregular, with differences from one sector to the other. And talking about exports in the fashion world and in our sector in particular, we recorded a V-shaped trend with peaks, very negative peaks, during the first lockdown last year. Another aspect has been the first recovery that we hope can coincide with the second part of 2021. We would see the data of the first quarter of this year, and a return to pre-COVID activity with numbers that are in line with 2019 will be seen in 2022. There has been a very asymmetrical trend between countries and sectors. The rise will be helmed by the United States and China's economies. This period has increased the gap in the growth between Europe and the US and between Italy and the main core European countries. And another meditation reflection on the differences in companies. The companies have recorded the need to renovate themselves from a digital renovation, automation, and an important attention towards sustainability, environmental sustainability, and the concept of circular economy on future production that we believe are the key for a positive change in the fashion world. Talking about numbers, our sector employs 18,000 people, a stable datum in 2020, also thanks to the use of the compensation program, unemployment compensation program. The output, 3 billion exports, and our sector exports 90% of its production, so a decrease of almost 26%, while the number of the companies of our sector is stable, 860. In the slide, now you see a sum up of the export situation in 2020 in our industry, with a decrease of 26%, split between sunglasses, 27.6%, with a high absolute value of 1.8 billion, and frames at 22.5 less. This is a graph that briefly sums up the trend of our export month by month. You see the negative peak in the month of March, April 2020, then a slow, steady recovery in the summer months, starting from May, June, July, August, and then again a more positive trend in the fall months. As for macro geographical areas at a continental level, I just draw your attention on the decrease in important market, Europe, minus 23%, America minus 26%, Asia minus 33%, considering that Asia had a block in export that started before other Western countries. And with reference to countries in our most important market for export, the US and Americas has recorded a decrease of 26%, especially frames minus 30% almost. France and Germany has suffered a decrease in 22.8% and 15.6%. Other markets that in the pre-pandemic years have increased, such as China, see a decrease by 35%. The Chinese market is a reference market on the emerging market landscape. And talking about the domestic market, we had a decrease in value of 14.4%, and there was a drop in the sale of sunglasses, 31.7%, whilst the sector of frames and ophthalmic lenses decreased less, minus 8% and minus 7.9%. So at the end of 2020, exports, as we were saying, suffered a total amount of 25.8%, mainly focused in the first semesters, with important percentage of 37.3%. and then a improving trend, but the total amount in the second semester was still 12%. The domestic market lost 15%. Despite the negative results of 2020, it is important to stress 4 points which are reference for our industry. We are the first producers of sunglasses and frames in Europe, the first exporters, the second larger exporters at a global level in the worldwide, and the first producer in sunglasses and exporters in the high-end product range in the world. If we think about this year, 2021, the first quarter is very complex. We did not record any sign of improvements in the export activity, and the limited international mobility had a negative impact. So we are not close to the pre-pandemic levels. It is true that in the month of April we recorded some positive signs because the vaccination campaign was accelerated in Italy, and therefore we had signs in an increase in the domestic market demand. We have understood that from UK and China that the vaccination process is very important and they are bringing positive results, but we need time and patience. At a global level, we have further positive signs from the two engine economies, China's and the US, which will have a recovery at the global level. So if we talk about 2021, we foresee a first semester with a growth of 10% versus 2020, although the negative figures and percentage versus 2019 is still 30%. A positive trend will be recorded in the second semester. We expected an increase of 19% versus 2020, but 4.5% versus 2019. So at the end of the year, we expect a recovery of 14.7% versus 2020, but still below a negative percentage of 14.9% versus 2019. So 9% on the domestic market, so only 5.5% versus 2019. So we expect to have pre-pandemic positive figures only in 2022. So Giovanni, thank you so much, because as we were saying, it's very important to have an overall and very objective vision. I would like to add something, and I wonder if you agree. There will be a recovery, there will be positive data. We are close to that moment, but it would be a big mistake thinking that in 2022 everything will go back as it was in 2019. We have emphasized values like beauty, sustainability, inventiveness will be more and more important, and I think this would be an appeal to exhibitors and Italian players that have always proven to have creativity and an ability to react. You are right, Francesco. This very complex period taught us that we have to be very ready to put things into questions, and this is important for us as an association, as a sector, and for all our companies. Mido in 2022, which will be hybrid in presence, but also with digital support, will be very different than the trade show of 2019. So the trajectories that we traced in 2019 have been totally changed. We have to rethink about them, and that's a great effort that allow us to innovate. Many of the things that we are doing today would never take place had we not lived the tragedies we have suffered. Indeed. Thank you, Mr. President. One of the things that we learned in these months, in this very complex year, is to live on life. You make the best of the digital platform and use the digital dimension. So it's the moment to introduce the digital edition of Mido 2021, and we will do so with the curator, Christian Fiorot. I ask him to join me by inviting you all to the next physical appointment for the 12th February 2022. But the platform will be launched on May 28th and will be online until December 31st. In June, there will be different events and appointments, moments where we can have a better insight of strategic, important issues and themes in order to complete our activity. But in the meantime, Christian will describe us this platform. How does it work? What are the logic at the base of it? Thank you, Francesco. Good morning, everyone. I'm very happy to accompany you in the platform that will host the digital edition of Mido 2021. There will be, of course, a registration process, and the users will have their credential to access the platform, and you'll be able to log in, after which you will get to the reception area. At that point, you'll be able to choose the different areas of the platform and get familiar with the details of this edition and see what are the events that are live in that specific moment and, of course, attend those events. You can also choose a video in the side area of the home page with the presentation of the platform and make the most out of the experience. We see the exhibitor area, the showcase and the window case of all the attendees of the 2020-2021 edition through an engine or the filters where you can choose categories or types of products that you are interested in selecting. Once you select in the virtual page, you'll get into an area that is managed by a single exhibitor where you can see a video of presentation of the new collections, a text, a presentation text of the stand itself, all the social addresses and contact details and videos concerning the exhibitors, a photo gallery, the novelties on the products, and another important aspect, the staff of the exhibitors that can assist any visitor for a meeting, one-on-one, or answer in real time in a chat, in a dedicated chat. So you can ask for an appointment, a rendezvous, that will be like a one-on-one video call meeting, and each meeting will then be saved in the user profile. In the main stage, there will be live events and the schedule day by day of all the events organized by Mido or other exhibitors that are preparing dedicated events. For each event, a visitor can also visit a dedicated area, but also interact in real time through the chat, or maybe ask questions to which the exhibitor or one of the Mido organizer, depending on who's helming the live session, as we see in this kind. So each live event can shorten the distances that virtual distances between users, visitors, and exhibitors, and connect different parties. parties from this connection. You can ask a meeting, and you can have different possibilities of matching interaction between exhibitors and visitors. Also, the press area will operate in a similar way. There will be the list of all the outlets and the magazine attending the Mido virtual edition. And for each outlet, you will have a dedicated page where you can find a presentation text and have the contact details for the editor office and ask for a one-on-one meeting or interview to the people attending the stand. I take the opportunity to introduce another important element of communication and publicity, that is the news feed area, a sort of digital board where you can find all the different announcements and contents during a live event, but also at the end of the operation of the platform at the end of the year, December 31st. So each month, starting from the event days, will have an update of this context. Then there's the meeting section, the area where there will be a list of the requests for meeting of a user to different exhibitors waiting for confirmation in an orange color, and also the meetings that have been asked for and confirmed by different exhibitors. You can have the agenda of the free time slot of the person that I want to meet, and you will have an immediate confirmation. When a user is not immediately available on the platform, he will get an email so that no opportunities for networking will be lost and missed. Another important opportunity is the lounge session. The lounge is an area where there will be conversation tables free, so all visitors can sit at those virtual tables, to discuss about the issues and themes that each table is dealing with. So a moment for sharing information, opinions, forecasts, market situations, but also another way to meet other exhibitors, other participants, attendees, and demand for a one-on-one meeting also from this section. Another interesting area for exhibitors and also for attendees is the room area. As in a real trade show where you have physical rooms where you can have one-on-one communication with exhibitors. At the same time, also in the digital Mido edition 2021, you have this section with a list of all the rooms organized by all the exhibitors. So you can ask to access them, and the exhibitors can manage meetings for a preview of a specific group product in a different format than a lounge where the tables are open. Here, of course, we are talking of private meetings. From this slide, you can see how a new session can be launched. This is an example for a room or one-on-one meeting or a table. Many of you will recognize the usual interface we are getting very accustomed to, through which you'll be able not only to listen and to see the person that you interact with, but also interact through a chat or by sharing your presentation on your laptop or video with the speaker in a more private way. And now let's complete this virtual tour of the digital platform with a contest section. Like in the previous physical Mido edition, also in the digital one we'll have the Best Store Award that will list the images of the best optic center in the world, and there will be a novelty this year for this competition, because beyond the award bestowed by an international jury, there will be another one based on the stand or the image, the footage of the best optic center voted by the participants. So there will be an award also given by the community of Mido 2021. Now, there's another context, the trivia quiz, a way to test the knowledge of participants of the details of the sector. And now I invite you all from May 28 to register on the website of Mido.com and attend the digital edition of Mido 2021. There will be a digital experience, an innovative digital experience that will be satisfactory to you all. Thank you. Thank you, Christian. We agree with you. Thank you, Alia, for building this landscape that, although digital and virtual, tries to intercept all the key moments of an unusual trade show. Of course, the advantage would be to have an insight and a different experience. So thank you. I will take the opportunity by saying goodbye and calling back President Vitaloni to join me. I would like to discuss with you two moments that in the main stage that was described on June 5 and 6 will be hosted for our audience. If there's something that the digital technologies allows us to do is to meet personalities that are difficult to listen to and to join. But Mido, in its digital edition 2021, managed to find important contacts. But please tell us. Thank you, Francesco. It's true, for this virtual stage, we thought of organizing an immersive event in order to involve our audience fully. This means we will organize high-profile events on the vision of our industry, our sector, and our future. For the opening event on June 5th that will broadcast all over the world, we want to surprise, enthusiasm, and move our audience by telling you in a new way the world around us. We will use a very intense narration, an encompassing one, thanks to the prestigious presence of Albert Watson, one of the most influential photographers of our times, born in Scotland but living in New York. Beyond the impressive figures of 100 Vogue covers, he signed some of the most famous images in the world, like the Steve Jobs portrait or Alfred Hitchcock or holding a dead goose, the portrait of Bill Clinton for Newsweek, the pictures of Keith Richards behind cigarette smoke. The new world will be told from 5 points of view, seeing beauty, living together, nature, technology, and future. Our sector will be at the center of the attention thanks to interviews, to entrepreneur and manager of the main companies of eyewear who will tell us about their vision. In June 6, we will get into the core of Mido and we discuss about fashion and design by meeting 5 different talents from different worlds. We will talk about design with architect Fabio Novembre, food with the starred chef Massimo Bottura, an icon of the taste and style in Italy. Photography with Albert Watson himself, but also fashion and technology with a personality that will make us understand how the digital and the real world are intertwined. Furthermore, we will have 4 important fashion representatives and 4 promising designers of our field. So a very rich program that undoubtedly will impress you and hopefully move you. Thank you, Giovanni. I think we'll be deeply moved also because you make us understand the importance nowadays to have a point of view, a perspective that can be local but also global. And the encounter of different discipline representative, fashion, design, and so on and so forth, it's the basis in order to deal with a future that is a very demanding future. And I'm saying this for the Italian audience in particular. Of course, the interface of the platform will be in 10 different languages, almost all the languages of the world, from Russian to Japanese, to Russian to Korean, and the content will be available 24 hours a day, any time of the day or of the night, regardless of where you live in the world. Now is the key moment for any press conference, that is the Q&A session. But before that, let's see a video.
You're here. I've been waiting. If you follow me, wonders are ahead.
You've just seen Albert Watson, so it's him that on June the 5th will moderate one of these very important events. Some of you are saying that we have some technical problems. We regret that, but it's quite inevitable. Everything can be improved, and I am sure that you'll be able to log in a different way. But we are getting many questions. The first one is quite natural. Mido 2021, are you already working at the next edition? Dear Francesco, we never stopped working actually for the next edition in presence for Mido 2022. We've been doing so since last February. We have to be cautious because an event such as Mido must be a tool to help the whole sector and the exhibiting companies. So we are already working on the next trade fair show, and we feel the commitment of the exhibitors that are willing to meet again. Mido 2022 will be in February, and it will be a very important event to relaunch the whole sector. We've seen the data. We will be able to recover partially the loss of 2020 during 2021, but the whole recovery will occur next year. It's an international event, and therefore it's a powerful one, and it will be the right opportunity to launch our companies on the international markets, considering that mobility is one of the main issues. We are very optimistic for the vaccination process. Yes, indeed, that's the nest for our hopes. The second question, which is one of the basic information, date, do you envisage of doing it in presence like last year? If so, where and when? there's a lot of interest on this trade fair, which is a domestic Italian one. I can confirm that it will take place in Florence from 11 to 13th of September. And it is an event that last year we managed to do so physically in presence with all the safety measures that we put in place. And in September 2020, we were able to give out important signal for our sector. It's mainly a domestic Italian event addressing the independent world in our sector. So we can confirm it. There will be novelties and new events that we will disclose in the next few months. A question addressed to the president of ANFAO: what are the forecasts on the sector at the global level on the long run, long term? You just mentioned forecast in the short, mid-term, but what do you see for the next few years for eyewear? It's a complex question, I realize. Indeed, it's a question that needs a cautious answer. I think that we have to ponder on the fashion world in general and Italian companies in general. There are issues that need to be tackled by our companies and by our industry. They can no longer be neglected or overlooked. I think about sustainability and the circular economy. I think about themes in relation with transparency for the carrying out of our activities. This led us to be very innovative on many viewpoints in digital communication and publicity, e-commerce, digital platform to present the new collections. That was one issue, how to present new products. Our digital platform is one answer. The physical one next year will be another answer. So we have to make considerations in relation with the values of business and other important values. There's also another concept in relation to social responsibility. Our companies will have to stress these aspects in the carrying out their activity. We have to be ready to be very performing. One question that, if you don't mind, I start answering and then I give you the floor. It concerns habits of consumers. How would they change following pandemic? Do you think that consumer will have different behavior and attitudes? Our profession hinges on change, and we have repeated many times that pandemic has accelerated many mechanisms that were already in place. You said some things, a major concern for health. But allow me to say that previously we were very careful about health, but health concerns normally healthy people and not people that that suffer illnesses. And we realized that in order to be able to take care of health of healthy people, we neglected problems of people that are actually ill. So I don't believe that the customization will be less important. That will not be the case. We want to have many things. We want to be protagonists. So the eyewear in general, the eyewear sector is able to provide tailor-made products and services, and that will be the future. This is the evidence from a social point of view. I don't know if your answer is similar. I think you already answered to the question. Actually, it's part of your job indeed, but I think that on our part, it is quite obvious that the experience of consumers must be both digital and physical, and therefore online experiences that obviously in the last year have been more frequent, but must also be integrated by physical experience. The final user, that's the term that I prefer instead of consumer, final user that found products online and then went to check them physically in the point of sale shops. And I think that indeed for medical devices, our point of sales and our shops were kept open during the pandemic and the lockdown. New generation teachers that they wish to analyze the products and see what's behind a product, getting as far as the certification of a certain product. So those who invested on traceability and certification standardization are now in an advantage position. A question concerning one of the issues you mentioned. What is your expectation following this digital experience? Do you think we'll go back to the traditional way and we will forget the online, or will we acquire that experience? Digital experience through the platform and the schedule and programs, list of programs that we mentioned before, are going to become part of the real digital universe which represents the future. So I think that the digital experience will provide us the connection rings towards next year, 2022, where we'll go back to physical events. But this passage will be very natural. What we're doing today, it's something that we could not think of just 1 year ago. So an increased number of innovative solutions. And one final question, what was the reaction of exhibitors to this digital edition and dimension, and a future where we will have this sort of hybrid dimension? New products must be presented, explained, understood, and accepted. So by the exhibitors, we had the demonstrations that they need tools and devices to present new collections and products. Mido this year goes into this direction to help the world of the exhibitors. Indeed, what we are doing in these days is one-to-one approach, so as to explain them how to use this package best, so as to be able to meet the global distribution network, to present the collections, and to use the data bank that Mido has that will allow us to do what was difficult in the past years, meet new clients and new way of doing business. A question that concerns 5, 6, and 7 June, these days that will be rich with events and other activity. It's very specific. How long will these events be? Those of our users that wish to organize their days, they want to understand the pace of the events. These events will be very prominent and very high profile, and we know that events online must not last more than 40-45 minutes. So this is the time that the run time of this event. But they must have an impact, and therefore I expect to attend these 45 minutes by walking out to the virtual room with a positive feedback. Another question concerning the platform, until when it will be online. We said it before, it will be online from May 28th and certainly until December 31st, but then it will probably leave on, hoping that this initiative will be successful and will become a new way of working together. Indeed, I think that we wish to use the platform as a joining element between the virtual and the physical edition of the event. So I expect it to last until February 2022. The platform with the guarantees and the certificate of the Mido brand could be a tool in order to display their product and use the virtual rooms for one-to-one meeting and other meeting with their sales forces, for instance. So that the Mido brand will certificate the goodness of the product of a company. We are getting so many questions also from abroad. Unfortunately, our time is over. And of course, that's one of the limits of the digital technologies. But we will answer to all your questions. And in the platform, starting from May 28, we will increase this conversation, this virtual conversation and debate, so as to turn it into a heritage to the benefit of the whole sector, and be in touch and in contact with our brainstormings, and to be involved and give Mido a new soul, a digital soul that will live on side by side with the physical one. One last note, you were saying that digital technologies are also what our children want us to adopt. And I think that's another goal that Mido and all the trade fairs and trade shows must use. A new generation that often were considered curious but not so involved. And now for the buyers and the exhibitors and all the Mido community, this must become a very important tool. We thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, Giovanni. I believe and I hope this can be the first of many experiences, but an inclusive one, inclusive in the sense that we will never delete the pleasure of meeting in person starting from February 2022. Thank you all. Thank you, Giovanni, and see you soon.